Hey guys, I am back with another hair tutorial. Today I'm trying something I've never done before, so we're kind of going to be learning a little bit together and discovering some things along the way, but I do love how it turned out in the end, so let's get started. I am going to be using extensions for this. This set is from foxylocks. This is how they air dry. When they're wet, you just give them a little wiggle like that and the curl will come right out, and then just let them hang dry. I actually clip them all to each other before I hang them up. It makes it a little easier. So I'm going to take one weft at a time and fold it onto itself so I can create like a nice thick piece to braid. And I'm going to first run a flat iron through it so I can warm up the hair. I'm not wanting to straighten out the hair at all. I'm just wanting to warm it up so the style that we put into it, the braid, will cool and set that way. I've always loved like the French braided waves, and I never knew how to replicate that on extension hair, so I'm just kind of experimenting and seeing what I get basically, and thought I would film the process. So what I'm doing here is I'm braiding it, and then when I get a few stitches down, I fluff out the braid. I find that to be a lot easier than braiding the whole strand and then trying to fluff it out, because then by the time you get to the ends, it's like all loose. So doing it a little bit at a time works really well for me. I also suggest you make your braid pretty tight to begin with, even though you're going to fluff it out, because the more stitches you put in there, the more defined the waves are going to be. And then you'll take your flat iron again. Mine's on 365, so not too terribly hot, but nice and warm. And I'm going to press over the braid, and I'm going to do this 2 times just to make sure that the heat gets all the way through. And this clip is not sped up at all, so you don't have to like hold it on there forever and then move down a little bit. Just a nice little quick clamp all the way down 2 times. And it should stay in place just from that, but if you're worried about it unraveling, you can take a little bit of hairspray and just sort of seal off the ends, or you can tease the ends a little bit and it'll stay. So then do that into all of your braids. Make sure that they're the same size. So if you have the single clip wefts, then just clip them together to thicken them up. And then the bigger pieces I folded over, as you saw. And then once they are all totally cool, I undo the braid, and I do this really gently so I don't disturb the wave pattern at all. So just unravel what you've done. Take your time on this because you don't want to ruin all your hard work. One discovery I made while I was experimenting with this hairstyle is hairspraying them beforehand. So the one on the right, I hairsprayed before I braided it, and you can see it was just a little crispier. So I do recommend that if you want it to be more defined. As for my hair, I am going to hairspray it beforehand because I made that discovery on the very last weft. So the first bit of extensions did not get that nice crispiness, but I decided that I did want that in my hair. So I hairsprayed just with the Kenra Volume 25 spray, brushed it through, and I'm going to do 2 regular Dutch French braids. The only difference is I'm going to be leaving out those finer hairs around my face and just starting my braid where my hair gets nice and thick. That way it's not like too crimpy around my face, because that's usually the problem I have. One of the problems I have with French braiding my hair is I love it when like in the middle of my hair, but it seems like my ends and around my face is always like too tight. So I'm going to do a different technique to the front to kind of combat that situation. And I'm doing the same thing I did with the extensions, going down a few stitches, fluffing it out, going down a little more, fluffing it out. And then once I get to the very ends, I'm going to tease it into place so it doesn't unravel on me. By the way, this dresser and mirror is an antique, so despite my best efforts to clean it, it's just like perpetually got spots on it just because it's old. Repeat on the other side, and then we're going to do something called a push wave on the front. This is my very first time doing this technique, but you basically click the flat iron really quickly and push the hair through, creating the wave as you go. This piece is literally the first time I've ever done this, and it was surprisingly really easy. And I was hoping that this would mimic the look of the French braid waves without being that crimpy, crispy, too tight sort of thing that always happens with the finer hair around my face. And I was pretty pleased with how it worked. So here's a little close-up for you. So for the bottom half of our French braids, we're going to do the same thing we did to the extensions, which is pressing the flat iron over top of it until it is warmed through to the touch. And I just give a little bend to the end so they're not stick straight. I wanted to go ahead and do this before I moved on to push waving the other side, just so I could make sure that it cooled down really well and had enough time to set. So there were a couple issues that I have with traditional French braid waves that I was trying to solve in this experiment. One was the crimpiness around the face, and another was adding in extensions. I wanted to kind of mimic the waves with extensions somehow. And the third was not having to sleep on it, because I don't like sleeping on braids. I don't like going to bed with my hair wet. So I wanted to try and create it with heat. So that is kind of what I was figuring out. So to heat up around my head, since I obviously can't use the flat iron there, I'm just using the heat from my hair dryer to heat it up. One fun tip is you can actually use the back of your hair dryer to cool down your hair really, really fast. It basically sucks all of the heat out, and I mean, it makes it cool to the touch instantly. I will say I did not heat up the top half of my head enough. This night, my oldest son had a fine arts night at his school where they were presenting like all of their artwork and music and things like that. So I was in a super hurry. Plus, I was losing my light outside because a storm was rolling in. So I did not heat up the top half enough. But I ended up just push waving it like the front. But I think this would work really, really well given adequate time and adequate heat on the top half. So I'm taking it out, and as you can see, the bottom part is nice and wavy, just like the extensions were, but up towards the top, you know, I just didn't get it hot enough, but I was rolling with it because I couldn't stop. I didn't have an option. So now I'm simply going to add in all my extensions like normal and then push wave whatever is exposed on the top. I know I need my hair colored so bad. I have an appointment on the 25th of this month. So I'm not a perfect match to my extensions right now, but that will soon be remedied, and I'm so excited. I'm really excited to try this look again after editing it a little bit. Like, I want to hairspray each extension piece before I braid it, and I want to adequately heat up the French braids in my own hair. So regardless of how this experiment turned out, I definitely have some big takeaways, and hopefully you guys learned some tips too. And I think the waves on the extensions are absolutely gorgeous. So I'm excited to try this again and perfect it. I'm just going to finish it off with a little bit of smoothing cream, and then that is it. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with the look. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know what kind of tips you learned. And yeah, we'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.